liturgical.
I forgot. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Recitation of liturgical texts or chanting is found in all schools of Buddhism. Its effect derives not only from the presumed sacredness of the canonical words themselves, but also from the power emanating from the practitioner, whose mind is focused as a result of his or her participation in the ritual.
That's okay. We can stop. Okay.
So even though the Buddha had issues with the way the local religions were passed down from the Brahmins and certain, I think even like language, he kind of looked down on the way it was only available in the
Brahmin.
in the Brahmin languages or whatever, Sanskrit. But so the way he taught, he wanted it to be more accessible to everyone, so it was through recitation, through repeating the words, and then of course he had certain monks around him that were specifically for memorizing and coming back and saying, is this exactly, is this the right way to do it? And so that's predominantly what the following text.
And also there's some Brahmin, they became Buddhist monk too, so they keep that type of habitual pattern of recitation. That's why
well, it's familiar and accessible, and I mean even still to this day it's very accessible to us.
Even
the iconoclastic Zen schools all have their sacred chants, especially the Heart Sutra. In schools where ritual plays a more prominent role, such as Tantra or Pure Land, a service may be chiefly occupied with chant and lasts for hours. Continuous repetition of a mantra, sacred syllable or series of syllables, and the Dharani, somewhat longer phrase of sacred text, are well known as meditation technique.
Okay, that's not.
It's just saying that, even though Zen is generally considered one of the ones that has less rituals, even in Zen people do chanting, and in these various other ones, of course, people chant usually specific mantras or dharanis or sutras.
So last time we talked about the reason why chanting is one of the practice of we can say meditation too. This is not. So I couldn't see. I am. Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, so usually whenever we see anything, whenever we hear anything, ultimately we have the thinking, right? Whether we see this remote control or whichever, ultimately we have that kind of thinking. That's why sometimes we overthinking too. So when we recite the mantra, it's reverse pattern. The mantra, even they have all kind of meanings, but they don't translate it. They have not been translated because they have different meanings. So when we recite the mantra, we just focus on the sound of the mantra. Just keep us keep our mind down. It keep our mind not being restless. It's the reverse pattern of thinking. That's one of the way how to calm the mind. And in the Pure Land traditions, has the what you call the Buddha names recitation. So people just recite Buddha name continuously until they just focus on that name. so that other thought would not bombard them, not bother them. That's one of the way. But if we really want to know our mind, we have to do meditation. So
But yeah, the Buddha did the repetition, it could be sorry, that made me think of the monk. The brother of, it was like the one monk was an arahant, and then the other monk sent him home. And then the Buddha finds the kind of cast off brother crying because he wanted to enlighten, but the brother that was already enlightened couldn't help out his brother.
yeah.
And so the Buddha gives the monk the white cloth. This just says white cloth, white cloth, white cloth. White cloth.
Yeah.
And so he teaches that monk that. And so the Buddha, his tenants go out, and he came back, and of course, you know, that there was nothing left of the white cloth, but some whatever, and that monk had enlightened.
Yes. So last week I also told a story about old lady. She offered food to the monks, and in return, the monk taught her how to say "Om mani padme me home." I didn't tell you that story. No. So she did, and somehow because she's so focused that whenever she decide "Om mani padme me home," she supposed to pick up a little rock, a pebble into the bottle, like that bottle. Yeah, we bottle here. So whenever she decide one, she pick up and put in the bottle one. But eventually, because she's so sincere, she's so focused, somehow her mind moved the rock into the bottle. Not the rock could not jump, but her mind moved the rock. So later on, the second monk stopped by at her house. Of course, she offered him the food, and somehow he heard how she decided Om mani padme hum in her local language, local voice or sound. So this second monk said, well, no, your recitation is wrong. You need to decide this way. Some people, they decide, they talk in the dialect, So yes, this lady, she listened to the second monk, but somehow the rock could not jump anymore because that time her mind is confused, her mind is distracted. Not the rock jumping, but at first, because she's so sincere that her mind moved the rock into the bottle. But because the second monk gave her the correct one according to him, according to his pronunciation and so forth, she couldn't move anymore because her mind was distracted. So whenever we do things, as must be focused, whether it's the sound, I mean, that different sound, or not, whether it's in Sanskrit, in Chinese, Vietnamese, even later on in English, doesn't matter. We get the sound. If we get focused on the sound, the more that's all we need. So that's why the power of the mind is so important. Yeah. Okay. All right. So please, next one.
Both derive their power from the Buddhist belief that human lives are shaped through our bodily actions, speech, and mental activities. This form of mental cultivation, valued as much for focusing the mind as for its role in providing protection from unseen forces, is so central to tantric practice that many refer to this approach as mantrayana, or the mantra vehicle. A typical Buddhist service will always contain some form of liturgical chanting, usually drawn from the scriptures that a school views as definitive of its doctrines.
Okay. Yeah. In some way, you understand?
Yeah. Well, our lives are shaped through actions, speech, and mental activities, and so chanting is a good way to focus the mind and help us cleanse kind of our mental activities.
Have you seen the video clip about the monk who levitate himself? You seen that?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Okay. Hi Ben, how you be, Ben? You driving, Ben?
I'm bored, so I can listen.
Oh, okay. Be careful, okay?
Yes, sir.
Is um yeah, yeah, here's the clip.
You need to get these books.
Hmm.
The thing that I hear the most about you, and you can tell me if this is true or not, is that you have power of levitation. And as a magician, this is something that I'm fascinated with.
Your magic is fantastic, but we're not the same the Buddhist meditations.
Yes, I understand. I know you don't want to teach me how to do it or tell me any of your what you do, but maybe I could just witness it.
Is that the big clip you watched or different one?
You come from very far away. You show me what's there. I don't know what happened, but I will try one time.
Okay, great.
I need you back. If you still close me, yeah, my energy doesn't go. Yes.
Okay.
The singers. The singers.
Just focus on my ears, so I'm not releasing anything.
Hey, so what do you think? You don't trust us?
No, I don't do it.
Really?
The one I saw, so it's more of a Tibetan yogi that does this really insane breathing, and then, yeah, it's more also of a physical exercise, but it's pretty crazy how high this guy can get off of it, but, I mean, they spend like years. They don't float up off the ground, you can tell it's a muscular thing, but still it's, really impressive.
So what, George, what do you think?
There are some tools.
I see,
The
mm,
my skeptical
skeptical.
science mind.
What do you
Have you
think?
seen the rainbow bodies though? That's really documented stuff. If you look into that, the Tibetan monks, these high level masters, that their bodies like okay, supposedly they burst into these like rainbow bodies, which is like I don't really get it, but it seems like enlightened.
Mm.
And I think they can send them their karmas or themselves.
Like
on.
astral project.
No, this is when they die. This is when they die.
Mhm.
And their bodies like shrink, like significantly shrink down to, I don't know, it's pretty weird.
What do you think?
I've never seen that before, so I'm not really sure.
Not sure.
I'll have to look a little more into it and do some more research, but I didn't trust the guy that was sort of filming, just. Like,
See the little sketch.
I don't know, but like, I have no idea. I don't feel one way or the other about it.
Okay, Sam, what do you think?
I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I don't know, I guess I would agree that to be completely confident, I would have had to have been there, but I think it's definitely possible. I mean, they talk about the different supernormal powers you can get from enough meditation. Yeah, levitating, or I've seen, I know some other ones have been pretty definitively proven, like, you know, monks who can control their body temperature, they can endure extreme heat or extreme cold, or even being hit with like steel rods or whatever. You know, there's all kinds of abilities, because you know, the mind is so powerful. So I definitely think it's possible. I think, you know, they talk about you know, not just the Buddha, but some of his disciples could read minds and stuff like that. I think that's possible.
Have you seen the monks? Well, and I did at some point have a picture of a whole like, nunnery. They were, all Tibetan nuns just sitting out there like piled in snow. And I know with some of those high level monks, they do things like that, sit in snow, and then they wrap them in like blankets in the freezing cold weather.
Yeah,
I mean,
What is the difference between like controlling your physical body of like temperature and pain and another to like break physics?
well,
That
I like the word
little
that,
bit.
I like how usually we use the word super normal instead of supernatural, because maybe it's not breaking physics, maybe it's just some kind of science we don't know yet,
yeah,
is how I look
or
at
that
it.
we don't really understand.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like most Buddhist monks just do like normal practice, but in Tibet they do lots of mysterious stuff. And part of that is because like the Tantra, instead of always having it all written down, like sometimes it's just like they get teachings, secret teachings from master to master. Like, you know, you have to learn directly from a teacher to know. Whereas like most of the normal Buddhism, like anybody can learn whatever.
How about you, Ben? You heard about the comment, Ben? What do you think about that? That
I don't think you guys will want to hear my comment. No, honestly, can you hear me okay? I've studied magic, and that was just like, that video was just staged. That was just like, there's no, like there's normally a pole behind the curtain that lifts them up. That was obviously like a magic trick, you know, like, to be honest. But I was thinking about this the other day, the metaphysical or the supernatural or breaking the laws of physics in Buddhism. I mean, like Sam said, the mind is very powerful. There's certain things that I've seen that I cannot explain scientifically. But for me, I like to focus on this time right now, like just the meditation, calming, non-attachment, the things that are important, and not necessarily the supernatural. Great, you know, because I would fly to Mars if I could, you know. So that would be my dream. But that's my 2 cents.
I think that's something that the Buddha said, is like, I read a sutra once that like the Buddha had like a guy, I don't remember the whole sutra, but basically like the Buddha said that like the most powerful magic is to, you know, control your thoughts and emotions.
what do you think?
I don't know about that video,
No.
but I can definitely see how monks could like control their body temperature, like internal climate, I guess. I think that would be really neat to look into more, because I can definitely see how that would be possible. I don't know about levitating though.
You know, there's okay, you guys know who Neem Karoli Baba is? He's a really famous Indian, Hindu sadhu. He was supposedly a reincarnation of Hanuman. So a lot of our contemporary American meditation teachers. They very much revered him. And there are loads and loads of accounts of very sane, very well educated people that would say, oh yeah, he was there and then gone and nobody could find him. But and then other, like, plenty of famous stories about where someone would go off and do something and apparently he was very, very psychic, you know.
Mhm.
Just like I said, a lot of accounts from really respectable people that witnessed.
It's definitely not on the level of reading anyone's mind or meditating, but definitely when I've been in extreme pain before, chanting helps, like, make it like 90% better.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, we have watched many show, right? Like in American talent show and so forth, right? There's a lot of trick, a lot of magic involved. But if you look at the monk, you think he's a magician? Probably for me, I would not think that. I mean, that he has some kind of power. If you look at him, the monk there, he would not cheat people. He would not show off his skill like the magician.
I would always generally try to trust in my where I'm like so.
Well, and then you look at quantum physics, the more you get educated about it, you know, we live in this 3D reality, but there is a very real, very quantifiable other reality that we don't. I mean, we can mathematically figure it out. We can watch atoms split in and out of it, but we don't really even have access. So there's, I think you would be naive to not think that some human has figured out how to understand the energetics of this reality and another reality.
Okay, yeah, let's just go back to our reading then. I have a short video clip about rainbow too, only 1 minute. Want to see? Yeah, rainbow.
Rainbows.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at the rainbow. Yeah, that's yeah.
And here are two videos, one of Penor Rinpoche's cremation and one just before his death in 2009, both displaying a very unusually low rainbow. Wu Rinpoche was one of the first to achieve rainbow body and leave his body's imprints in rock. But the rainbow body is not exclusive to Buddhists. Hindus, Jainists, Taoists, and Bonpo practitioners have all achieved this, even if they may call it something else. Ancient religions, as well as New Age movements, often speak about our essence being a pure light, and rainbow body seems to be evidence of this. You may think that even if it was possible, that achieving this is a complex journey of techniques and discipline. Although it definitely isn't easy, achieving rainbow body is not complex at all.
Okay, that's all.
Do you have the clip of how the bodies all shrunken up?
Oh no, we will look at that, but not now. That's okay. We will look at that. So again, sometimes it's go beyond the if we trust them, sometimes it go beyond our human thinking. Yeah, and you know, Kung Fu movie, right? The monk jump from the ground to the top of the trees. Of course, through their practice. Yeah, through their Kung Fu practice for many years. And yes, definitely we know that if they really focus on the fight, the inner fire, you know, they can sit even in the snow, out no pot there. Yeah.
Chanting has a long history in Buddhism and reflects a widespread belief in the special power of the spoken true word. In Mahayana countries outside of India, the canonical language was Sanskrit, despite the fact that few spoke it. Sutra chanting today in East Asia is mostly done in the Chinese form of the scripture, a language that, while archaic, can still be understood. The chant of mantras and dharanas continues in Sanskrit.
Mhm.
Interesting. The Chinese is sort of the lingua that in most cultures, at least, that if I remember correctly, the Vietnamese translations come from the Chinese translations, and the Japanese comes from the Chinese. So that is sort of like level 1 is Sanskrit, level 2 is Chinese, and where they branch out. So.
And for the mantra, most of the time they get transliterated the mantra, not the translation. So that's why somehow the monk decide Umanabhipi home is in Sanskrit or in Tibetan language. But for us, we can do the same way too. Yeah. Have you ever heard about their chanting? You heard about their chanting?
Which chanting?
Chinese, Vietnamese, Tibetan. You heard about that before? Maybe okay. Let me share with you too.
Yes, over the weekend at the Dalai Lama's birthday party, so the Tibetan monks, which I always love to make that chanting, and the Vietnamese monks chanted, and then I bumped into China, and he chanted.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to hear all the different languages. It was really beautiful.
Yeah. So there's all kind of mantras that nowadays is available on the YouTube that we can pick up, whether it's the Tibetan language, whether in Sanskrit, Vietnamese, Chinese, and so forth is up there. And yeah, we can listen quick.
Best way to get started on Amazon in 2023 is not by selling physical products like every.
Sorry, this skip.
Mahavikanse raja samgate suha Priyantam Vikanse Mahavikanse raja samgate suha.
Okay, yeah. So have you heard that the Tibetan monk they decide in the throat recitation? You could feel the difference when you use the throat to decide. The vibration is so strong from the whole body, not only the voice from the mouth, but the whole body is so strong. That's why many of them, whenever they have the mandala set up, right? They will invite the groups to come to have those kind of chanting. And we have one. That one is in 1 week. They will come here. Yeah, we do the new mandala. The end of I think from the 27th, 26th, and 27th until the September the 3rd. They will do the chanting and they do the mantra, Sam mandala for us here. And we will keep it here. Yeah, the voice so powerful. You heard about this before? Oh, yeah. You okay? You have you observed them that they did this one before? No, oh, you were there? Okay, yeah. We come here 1 week before our parent appreciation day. Yeah. So because they specialize that type of mantra recitation, that type of visualization of the Samandala.
I was thinking about, you're talking about how sometimes it gets translated and sometimes it gets transliterated. I've noticed sometimes it's like a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Like I know the Heart Sutra in Sanskrit, and I've been trying to learn it in Vietnamese, and I noticed that the mantra at the end in Sanskrit it's Gatte Gatte Pada Gatte Pada Samgatte Visvaha. In Vietnamese, it's like yet they, bada. and it's
Same,
like-
it's a similar sound.
Yeah, similar sound.
Mhm.
Cause like the G in Vietnamese sounds like a Y,
Yeah.
so it's like it's the same letter, but it's different.
Yeah,
Mm.
You gotta be on your toes.
In the south and in the north, it sounds like a C, so it's.
And Vietnamese, I'm telling you.
Okay. Yeah. You had Mahayana.
Rise to the class of scripture, more than class presentation, specifically written for ritual campaign. These texts, when recited, were thought to produce great merit, which was usually transferred to someone who receives. The production of merit is an important part of sutra recitation. And when a person dies, his or her family is typically asked for his priest to recite sutras in the hope that this act will help confer favorable neighbors to the deceased.
Yeah, yes, stop.
We put that a little bit with like the Pure Land recitations of Buddhist names, but I also say mantras when like someone has died or an animal, I see an animal on the road, or even if like an ambulance goes by with its lights on, I'll say a mantra to try like send them some merit.
In the conventional or mundane level, so let's say if we say some word about some famous people love them, right? For example, if we talk about Albert Einstein, for example, when we talk about his name, people have admiration about him. But when we talk about Hitler, for example, you see the names, even the names go with the forms, go with the essence of that. It may change our views of those names, good people, bad people, famous one and evil one, and so forth. That's why when we chant the Buddha names, Bodhisattva names, so it's so powerful in that kind of names and that kind of wording. Because the Buddha is the embodiment of awakening. So that's why in especially in Mahayana Buddhist tradition, whenever someone passes away, we recite that name continuously. And even 8 hours, not 1 ounce. I did that in the past, but not now. It's too much. Yeah, unless they're really sincere Buddhists. Yeah, and this is so critical for them right after they leave the body. Right, if they could not trigger their good thought, then we go to wrong path. It's so important. Yeah, to decide that kind of names.
When Josh dies, I just said it.
30 some days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so, have you read the book, Tibetan Book of Death before? You don't know that? You know, there's a book, Tibetan Book of Death. They talk more in depth about the 49 days after someone died. In the Buddhist tradition, especially Tibetan tradition, they decide that books continuously for 49 days to guide the spirit to go to Buddha land or wherever. Yeah.
That's also what all that real loud noises and the horns and stuff like that is hopefully to like wake them up when they're in the bardos.
Yeah. Yeah, so critical. Yeah, because when we sit here, whichever thought we have, but good thought, bad thought, we're still here. But when our spirit get out of this body, whenever we think about, let's say, Buddha land, we go there. We think about our family member, we go there. Right away. We think about our pet, we may go with them, so forth. It's so quick. Like we use the telephone, or even here, I use the computer, laptop, and so forth to connect with other people, right? Like Ben, he's out there, or someone in Vietnam, in China, in Africa, and so forth. As long as we have the same frequency, same vibration, we can connect with them. That's why it's so powerful. Deciding, yeah.
Studying secret passages for the good of the spirit of the passage. It is believed, particularly in Tibet, that the spiritual content of scripture, the carrying the rituals for the recently deceased, has a good chance of being perceived by the dead person's subtle consciousness in the intermediate state, that in Bardo, between death and rebirth. This may lead to a religious awakening, altering the deceased karmic status and potentially improving the state of his or her imminent rebirth. That's what you just explained. I feel like that is what you just said about talking about how to help the deceased kind of move along that path and getting their consciousness in their heart and improving for their next life.
You know more about the battle, right?
I've gone and done it over freshly deceased people. You know, on each tournament depends on me a lot when you first got here. I mean, you'd only been here like 24 hours from this Burmese guy that passed away. And they, and of course I was dead here. So we had to go pray over the gym. And of course with family.
You heard the word battle before, right? I think most of us here have attended funeral service before, right? Funeral service for the dead people. For me, I had done so many times. I mean, little one up to, I mean, that few months old up to 90 and above. Anyway, so for the first couple of weeks, it's so critical. Most of the time, they may come back to stay around with the family members. And later on, they would take future rebirth. But the first couple of weeks, the first week or couple of weeks is so critical. That's why many of them, yeah.
Here with you guys too. Couple of number of years. Yeah, I've gone to funeral home with them for 10 years.
Some of them, they may appear in the dreams of the family members or even the friends, even the stranger, to tell them that, oh, they're still around. Actually, I encountered two examples that, you know, after we done with the funeral service for a old man for even up to 400 days. So his children who live in Atlanta, so they drove up here to show their appreciation because I went down there to do the prayer for their fathers. So when they got to Corden, you know, we had the steep driveway. And before they opened the gate, somehow this big butterfly flew around them and lit them up. It's not one, twice, two cases, and it's beyond our thinking. It's beyond our normal human thinking. I don't know whether this is true or not. We don't know. Yeah. And in one case, just many years ago, I used to tell the story that there's one gentleman, he got a stroke. At that time he's in early 50. He got a stroke, and his sister brought him to the ER, and so for the next few days, so the doctor pronounced that his brain was dead, and they invited me to come there to do the prayer for him. Last prayer for him. But somehow when they went there, his legs still move around. And somehow for the next few days, even for a week, I decided the Earth Star Bodhisattva Sutra. And after that week, and somehow the nurse and of course doctor say that, well, this man still passed away already. But somehow I still saw his fingers, his leg fingers still moving, and they didn't trust me. And the nurse came and say, "Oh well, because of his muscle reaction, that's all. He's not alive anymore." But I told her, "No, he's still alive. Please give him the nutrition the life support again. So at first the nurse didn't trust me, but somehow, yeah, because of the request from his sister, so the doctor came and they recognized us, and eventually they get back the life support, the nutrition, the medicine, and so forth. And but at first they had to quarantine him, because within that 7 days, there's no medicine. This is a lot of virus in that particular room. So we're working to that room should wear the, the COVID-19, or wear the suit. And now he's still alive in Vietnam. And even me too. This is go beyond my thinking. I can follow that routine, that restoration for him. This is many cases like that.
I think by law, like once you die, you're declared dead, they still have to hold your body for 72 hours or something like that. If they can't immediately dispose of the body, because that's that people aren't as bad as they think they are.
Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes I've heard doctors and morticians even. I used to know a mortician who said his boss actually had somebody come back. Like right before they were about to do the autopsy. Very scary. Kind of a nightmare scenario. But yeah. And that's even after, they put you in the freezer for 72 hours. And then when that's done, they take you out and they're about ready to cut you open. Apparently there's some people, even after they've had them in the freezer for 72 hours, and they bring them out, sometimes they still come back. Very, very scary, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah.
This is from the Jewish tradition, but they believe that the soul floats around the body for like 3 days. That's why Jesus came back on the third day. That's in the Christian, Judaism. So I don't know what it is in Buddhism. But
I think a lot of modern Jews, at least, they do it for even longer. They have a shiva, they call it, for a whole week. It's like a funeral that lasts like a whole week.
Again, for me, I would not dare to buy anything that relate to funeral home. There's so many spirits over there. I will not. Yeah, there's a lot of spirit, a lot of soul. It's just it's not easy to deal. There's one gentleman in Atlantic City in New Jersey. So somehow before the COVID-19, somehow he come across to a funeral home. It's so cheap for him to buy. But after he bought that, his business went south. It's not easy. If you don't know how to pray for them, they mess up. Like if people and somehow you invite them to come to the house, the temple, they may mess up. It's not easy. This is not this realm of spirituality. Go beyond our thinking. Okay, so this is your turn, please.
Another purpose of ritual chanting is the use of ritual language as speech act, when the spoken words have the power to change a situation for the mantras and or speech act as the triple refuge chant that marks conversion.
Sorry, cover. Yeah.
That marks conversion or commitment to Buddhism. A third purpose for sutra chanting is mindfulness meditation, when each participant simultaneously focuses on the sound of his or her own voice and on the message being recited. As the texts become memorized, recalling them is another exercise in mindfulness. So yeah, there are certain like the medicine mantra is supposed to, help alleviate health. So that be like a speech act. Also, I mean, we always do the refuge chant, I guess, to always remember what it is, exactly what we're doing and who we're honoring, and so that's always done in every tradition.
On Sunday, right, you heard people reciting the written passion mantra, right? From heart, right? Yeah. So we have all kind of mantra, short, long, and so forth. So as much as they memorize one, they keep focus on that, it will generate the energy. It's the mantra is like the password that Buddha and Bodhisattva, like a password to lock in the bank account and so forth. It's so powerful when we focus on that. Yeah.
I love the idea of the vibration of those exact sounds existing in time for like hundreds, if not thousands of years. That someone at some point on the earth was chanting those exact words, and that those sounds go back unbroken. So I think that's also really important.
Can I tell a really quick funny story?
Yeah.
We already heard about it. You already saw my Facebook post about it. But where I was recovering from my procedure, they gave me, pain medicines. This has happened to me before. It actually happened to me the last time I had a surgery. For some reason, pain medicines give me those sleep paralysis. I never had it normally, but I had it the other day. It's where, you're trying to sleep, but then like your eyes are open and you're kind of awake, but kind of asleep, but you can't move. And sometimes you'll see scary stuff like nightmares. I was having one of those on, I guess it was Friday night or Saturday night. And I saw, it looked like a huge, like a 8-foot tall, scary person in my doorway. And so I started doing the mantra for the Kwanam, the Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, and the Earth Store Bodhisattva, Namo Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva. And I pictured him with his like cane and stuff, and then I woke up and it was fine.
Was in hospital?
No, this is when they sent me home.
When you were falling asleep or when you were waking
It was
up?
when I was waking up. Yeah.
At home?
Yeah, at home. Yeah, I got the nightmare and saw the scary 8-foot tall person and it made it go away.
Sometimes
It only happened to me twice, and both times was after surgery. Once the pain medicines mess with my brain.
Yes, so there's certain like receptors that like control these on-off pathways.
Yeah.
And that's caused by like a mix-up within it. So like sometimes these neural pathways, like they'll have mechanisms where when one turns on, the other turns off and stuff like that. And so sometimes they'll mess up. And it's caused by that. So the pain medicine that you have probably worked on the same, like neurotransmitters.
Definitely. But I feel like the mantras like basically like stamped my brain out of it because they
gave you something to focus on that you felt like you could like control in that moment.
For sure.
even the little children sometimes they can see the weird things. They say that from below they could remember their past life to have that type of experience with the patient.
It's hard to say because not currently, but when I'm working at the jail, but they had schizophrenia really severely, so it's hard to determine if it is how like real it is or how it's brought on by their mental illness, which then you could also argue like, is that real? So it's hard to say, but I've heard that and I've had people tell me that. I just know because I'm not in the situation.
I suffered really, really bad from all kinds of like sleep disorders. This was when I was younger. Like as far as I know, I'm pretty much it now. But I've had a lot of head injuries with loss of consciousness, and then of course some like really intensely traumatic stuff in my childhood. So at the point where a lot of children, so boys, like teenage boys, have these like sleepwalking, because I was really bad sleepwalker. And also hypnagogic phenomena, where when you're falling asleep, but you're dreaming, but you're also kind of awake, so you see really just insane stuff kind of mixed in with your reality. And yeah, it was not a good way to live. It was not, and it was super dangerous. Like I really severely injured myself and almost caught the house on fire. Sleepwalking, I 3rd-degree burned myself. I would eat non-food items. I would leave the house. I would get caught.
Your parents used to play.
No, this was when I was an adult. I was married at the time, but my husband traveled. So I pretty much lived alone over there on Frankfurt Avenue. And so of course my car was right outside the door. And anyways, I don't have that problem now. Like as far as I know, like, you know, everything's good. But I've done a lot of work to like repair my brain, and also I've not fallen off a horse and hit my head.
Some people will like sleep with boxing gloves and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so they can't do that.
I mean, but I haven't had that problem ever since I was a kid, but I like never outgrew it, I think, because of the head injury time. Yeah. You know, like at that crucial time where it's your.
Well, it depends on like where the injury is, because there's like the creep and so that can affect a lot of different things.
Okay, so your turn over, right?
Where?
Is that your turn, right?
Yeah, which part?
Yeah, short text.
Short text, pithy passages, and symbolic phrases are popular subjects for ritual chanting because of the sense of power generated by multiple repetition. The Heart Sutra in Zhuangjang's translation into Chinese is an extremely popular vehicle for ritual chanting. It's short, its message is enigmatic. All form is just emptiness, all emptiness is none other than form, and it contains a mantra to avert misfortune. The Heart Sutra is recited in Zen meditation halls before Zen, at Buddhist funerals, and even at weddings. Followers of the Pure Land tradition repeatedly recite phrases referred to as Nyanpo in Chinese and Ninjutsu in Japanese, which may invoke the holy name of Amitabha Buddha or describe his qualities. Yeah, I mean, it's talking about some good ones. I like those. Yeah, actually, Nyanpo, I think, is the Cantonese Chinese, and in the Mandarin, I think they say Anpopo. And Ninjutsu is the Japanese, and in Vietnamese, it's Namo Gidava. And original Sanskrit, it's Namo Buddhaya.
Nyanpo is just the word for the act of reciting.
Oh, okay. But yeah, then the Heart Sutra, I love that one. I know that one in Sanskrit. I don't know the Chinese. I don't know a word of Chinese. It's very hard language for me. But Sanskrit is actually not that hard for me. As it says, they have a certain power. If you know what it means, like the Heart Sutra, it makes you think, because the meaning is kind of like simple and complex at the same time. Like I've shared what I know, a little bit of what I know about the Heart Sutra before. I tell people, I'm like, if you think it's simple or complex, you don't really understand it quite yet. You'll never understand it, honestly. But the more you practice and meditate on it, the more insight you'll have. But it's not just the literal meaning, it's also the sound and the power of the sound and the power of repetition. But yeah, the sound or the meaning also. I mean, it's I love just the beauty of the different languages too, how deep you can go into like the different like nuances of like the different words and even like the different syllables.
You know the story that relate to her sutra with Shenjan.
Nagarjuna?
Shenjan when he went
Oh.
to India, you know that story.
The journey to the west.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean that somehow on the way, somehow he met a tribe that did the human sacrifice. So they caught him. They almost burned him. So at that time, he decided her sutra, and because of that, somehow magic or some miracle happened. So they scared and they relieved him. That relate with this her sutra here.
Yeah.
Especially the one that you just decide the last part, gate, and so forth. You heard about that one? No. You know about that sutra, her sutra. You heard about that one?
I know about the Heart Sutra, but I didn't hear about that story.
Yeah, it's really popular in the Maya tradition. Okay, so let's just finish today. Or that right then.